Okay, let's get started. Now we are discuss about the Poetics by Aristotle. Part 25. With respect to critical difficulties and their solution, the number and nature of the source from which they may be drawn may be thus exhibited. The poet, being an imitator like a partner or any other artistic, must be necessity imitate one of three objects things as imitate one of three subject things as they were or things are they are said or they were thought to be or things as they ought to be. The vehicle of expression is language, either current terms or it may be rare words or metaphors. There are also many modifications of language which we concede to the poets. Add to this that the standard of correctness is not the same in poetry and politics any more than in poetry and any other art. Within the art of poetry itself, there are two kinds of words those which touch its essence, and those which are accidental if a poet has chosen to imitate something but has imitated it incorrectly. Though want to capacity, the error is inherent in the poetry. But if the failure is due to a wrong choice, if he has represented a horse as drawing out both his off legs at once, are introduced technical incurrence in medicines, for example, or in any other art, the error is not essential to the poetry. There are the points of view from which we should consider and answer the objections raised by the critics. First, as to meter. First, as to matters which concern the poet's own art, if he describes the impossible, he is guilty of an error, but the error may be justified if the end of the art by thereby attained, the end being that already mentioned. If the effect of this or any other part of the poem is thus rendered more striking. A case in point is the pursuit of Hector. If, however, the end might have been as well or better attained without violating the special rules of poetic art. Error is not the error is not justified, for every kind of error should, if possible, be avoided. Again, does the error touch the essential of the poetic art or some accident of it? For example, not to know that a hidden has no horror honors is a less serious matter than to paint it inartistically. Further, if it be objected that the description is not true to fact, the poet may perhaps reply, but the objects are as they ought to be. Just as Sophocles said that he drew men as they ought to be, Euripides as they are. In this way, the objection may be met. If, however, the representations be of neither kind, The poet may answer, this is how men say that thing is. This applies to tale about the gods. It may well be that these stories are not higher than fact, nor yet true to fact. They are very possibly what Xenophon says of them. But anyhow, this is what is said. Again, a description may be no better than the fact. Still, it was thus said. As in the passage about the arms upright upon their bed and stored the sphere. This was the custom then, as it now is among the Eladians. Again, in examining whether what has been said or done by someone is politically right or not, we must not look merely to the particular act or saying and ask whether it's poetically good or bad. We must also consider by women by whom it is said or done, to whom, when, by what means, for or for what end. Whether, for instance, it be to secure a greater good or a greater evil. Other difficulties may be resolved by due regard to the using of language. We may not or rare word as in Omicron, Opsians, Rho, Eta, Alpha, Sigma. Not in the sense where the poet perhaps employ, not in the sense of Molière, but of sentimentals. So again of Dolan. Ill favored indeed, he has to look upon. It's not meant that his body was ill shaped, but that his face was ugly. For the correct, use the word well favored to denote a fair face. Again, the drink, mix the drink word does not mean mix it stronger as for hard drinkers, but mix it quicker. Sometimes as expression is metaphorical as no all good gods and men were sleeping through the night, while at the same time the poet say often indeed as he returned his gaze to the Trojan plain, he marveled at the sound of flutes and pipes. All is here used metaphorical for many, all being a species of men. So in the verse, alone she hath no part. Alone is metaphorical for the best knowing may be called the only one. Again, the solution may depend upon accent for breathing, thus habits of those solve the difficulties in the lines or again the questions may be solved by punctuations as in articles or a surname done things because mortal that before had learned be to be mortal, and things unmixed before mixed are again by the ambiguity of meaning as hence hence gain is said to pour the wine to Zeus. Though the gods don't drink wine, so to worker in iron as called Chi Alpha, Lambda, Kappa, Epsilon, Alpha, Sigma are worker in bronze. This, however, may also be taken as a metaphor. Again, when a word seem to involve some inconsistency of meaning, we should consider how many sense it may bear in the particular passage. For example, there was state the sphere of bronze. We should ask in how many ways we may take being cheeks there. The true mode of interpretations is the precise opposite of what Gallico mentions. Critiques he has jumped at certain groundless conclusions, they pass adverse judgment and then proceed to reason on it, and amusing that the poet has said whatever they happen to think, find fault if a thing is inconsistent with their own fancy. The question about Lycurgus has been treated in this fashion. The critics imagine he was a Lacedaemonian. Lacedaemonia. They think it strange. Therefore, that Tull should be have met him when he went to Lacedaemon. But the Chaldean stories may perhaps be the true one. They allege that Odysseus took a wife from among themselves and that her father was Critias, not Lacrius. It's merely a mistake that gives plausibly to the objections. In general, the impossible must be justified by reference to artistic requirements or to the higher reality or to receive opinion. What respect to the requirement of art, a probable impossibility is to be preferred to a thing impossible and yet possible. Again, it may be impossible that there should be men such as this painted. Yes, we say, but the impossible is the higher thing, for the deal type must surpass the reality. To justify the irrational, we appeal to what is commonly said to be in addictions to mass, which we urge that the irrational sometimes does not violate reason, much as it is probable that a thing may happen contrary to probability. Thing that sound contradictory should be examined by the same rules as in dialectical reflections. Whatever the same thing is mine, in the same relations and in the same sense, we should therefore solve the question by reference to what the poet say himself or to what a tactile assumed by a reason of intelligence, the element of the irrational and similarly depraved of character are are justly censored when there is no inner necessity for introducing them, such as the irrational element in the introductions of agents by Gerberdis and the badness of Menelaus in the Orestes. Thus, there are five sources from which critical objections are drawn. Things are censored either as impossible or irrational or morally hurtful or contradictory or contrary to artistic correctness. The answer should be so under the 12 heads above mentioned. Okay, do like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.